I think with the whole thing, we're both very competitive people, but we're not competitive with each other when it comes to that. And that's sort of what makes it work too, because we can have that open communication and we're not trying to one up or show each other how much we know in one way or another by trying to solve it and saying, I've got all the answers for you.
We've always just been very respectful of each other. And the thing that has always come easy is the separation. I respect everything that Lynn does, and I don't try to invade that space. Same with Lynn. She respects me as an educator and as a leader, but she doesn't try to come into my space either. And that's one thing that we both are supremely confident in what we do, but we're also humble in knowing that we don't know it all.
One of my favorite words is the word discipline, and I like structure. And with bodybuilding, there's a lot of structure. You have to check the boxes. I like a checklist, and so you're just checking the boxes every single day. You do what you need to do. You get up, you have the structure, you have the routine, and there's something super satisfying in that whole process to me.
Welcome to the $100 Million Mindset, the source for business owners who aspire to scale, grow, and reach their full potential. Whether you're aiming for 5 million, 10 million, or 100 million. Your hosts are Alan O'Neill, the Irish plumber, who scaled Abacus Plumbing and Cooling to over 100 million, and tight-lipped Todd Liles, a coach to high-performing business leaders and the owner of Service Excellence, are going to help you think bigger, act smarter, and take your business to the next level.
Today's episode is about partnership in business and marriage and in life. Lynn and Jeff Tomasek have spent decades excelling in completely different fields, yet they've navigated career changes, they've raised kids, and they've supported each other through every chapter of life over the last 15 years of marriage. Now, Lynn is a former guest. Check out her episode. She is the president of Brothers Heating and Cooling in Denver, a $25+ million home service company with deep family roots. And she leads this alongside her siblings for nearly over a decade. She's been at the helm. While also, Lynn competes in competitive fitness, and she's pursuing many personal goals, such as modeling. Now, her husband, Jeff, spent 25 years in education, 21 as a social studies teacher and department chair, and the last 4 years as a middle school administrator. Now, he's also been through this time a head baseball coach, assistant coach in football, track, and field, and he's just about to step into a brand new business venture as a gym owner. So in this episode, we're talking about raising kids, building careers, navigating big life transitions, and creating a shared vision for the next chapter. Lynn and Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Todd.
Well, it's super awesome to have you both here. This is an episode that I've been wanting to do, and I'll jump into the reasons why in a second. But Lynn, this is episode number 2 for you on the $100 Million Mindset, but I believe you did one on Firestarter too. So you've been just so generous with your time with our audience. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Enjoy doing this for you.
Well, I really appreciate you. And Jeff, I'm excited to have you on here as well. Hey, audience, I'm going to tell you the truth. I told Lynn and Jeff this. When I originally thought of this idea of speaking with spouses, my initial thought was sort of old school and cliche. I'm going to be speaking to the women behind the men. And then, boy, when I had the opportunity to visit with Lynn and Jeff together, it really shifted my perspective. And I realized I was being a little sexist. So I'm glad that, Jeff, that you're going first. And I'm glad, Lynn, that you are going with Jeff, because you guys are actually helping me become a better person. And I want to thank you both for that. So I got a quote here, Jeff. It's from Lynn, and she said this actually in the last episode. And this is what we're going to kick off with today when it comes to our backstory and our questions. Lynn said, we've always treated each other very equally. Now, she was talking about her brother and sister. Regardless of the position within the company, we're very accountable to each other. So when I hear this quote, it felt appropriate, even though, Lynn, you were talking about your brother and sisters, it felt really appropriate for me in this conversation about you and Jeff. Now, for the listeners, I want to jump into your relationship just a little bit. Would you tell us about how you guys met for the first time and who you are and how do you guys just work with each other in these worlds that are used to not connect very closely, but now they are connecting because you guys are about to do some big things together. That's a big, big, big question. So, Jeff, I'm going to let you go first here. How did you guys meet?
We are actually the product of Match.com. 15 years ago, both of us out of a previous marriage and just, I took that online leap, I guess you call it. Met for a first date, and it was kind of love at first sight, to be honest. It was always been really easy for us. So, we just had an epically long first date, to be honest. And it just was a quick fit. It was just magic. It was great.
It wasn't one of those things that took very long for you guys to know then, Lynn, is what I'm hearing here.
Not at all, Todd. I literally left the first date and said, this time things will be different. This is just feels different. But you have to just because this is funny and it's part of business. Jeff, our very first conversation, Jeff, what did you say? You thought, he's like, I feel like I'm in a job interview.
Yeah, our first conversation, she was asking a lot of questions, and I did make the comment, and she was in HR at the time, so I did make the comment. I feel like I'm being interviewed here.
You were.
Lynn, what was at the heart of the questions you were asking?
I just didn't want to be, I dated a few people before then and the games and different things. I was looking for somebody that was ready to make a commitment, somebody that was not playing games and, was in it for, just for the experience, but not playing the games that a lot of people play on the online dating. And so I was just asking him, some of those basic questions about, life and goals and, what he was looking to achieve in a new relationship kind of questions. And then Todd, I accidentally blocked him and we had to have a phone call. So that was a whole another experience and I think led to the first date pretty quickly, but we were able to talk on the phone quick and literally left that first date and just knew things were different.
So you blocked him in the app?
Yes. Yep. I didn't know how to unblock him. I said, I'm really sorry. I don't know how to unblock you. So I don't know. There's emails, DMs, all the different things. And I'm just like, just call me. I'm sorry. I blocked you. I don't know how to undo it. Just call me. And so that's a joke we talk about all the time. And he called and we talked for a very long time, had a first date 2 days later and never looked back.
So Jeff, when you guys met 15 years ago, you said Lynn was in human resources at the time. I do remember that from the other interview. And 15 years back, you would have been social studies chair head. Is that right?
Yeah, I was. Absolutely. Yep.
Were you a head baseball coach at that time too?
I don't know. No, I wasn't. My coaching pathway was a little bit slowed down at that time. And I was actually going to school again. I was getting my master's in history at the time that we started dating. So that's kind of my focus at the time. But at the time, coaching was kind of the tail end of that career.
So here's the thing that I was thinking about. I know how hard Lynn works. I know how early she gets up. And you and I haven't had many conversations, but I know what the life of a high school teacher looks like, having, my sister was a teacher, my stepmom was a teacher, teachers running our family. My mother-in-law's a teacher, my sister-in-law's a teacher, my sister-in-law did cheer. You combine an athletic on top of teaching, that's not a 40-hour-a-week job anymore. So
no,
what was the early dating life like? Because there couldn't have been much time for either of you guys to actually, go on many dates. I mean, were you going to the football games, baseball games? What were the early dates like?
Well, I have two kids brought into our relationship from a previous marriage. So we had to work around that as well. And, it started with just weekend dates when I was able to find a sitter and of course needed to, couldn't be gone all the time with them, but very quickly moved into, Jeff would come over after they were in bed and bring dinner, we'd watch a movie, have some wine, something, along those lines. And then just as our relationship progressed, I didn't have any problems, introducing him to the kids within the first couple of months, just because we just really, this point in our lives and previous relationships, we kind of knew what we were looking for and found it very quickly. And so we were able to incorporate family, in a fairly short period of time, in a couple of months, and that helped out a lot too.
Oh, it didn't take very long. That's what I'm hearing.
Not at all.
I can relate to that. I dated a girl for almost 4 years that I knew wasn't right. And when we broke up, it was a hard breakup. And I, basically fell in love with Shannon at the end of that summer. So 3 months later, and it's like I could have married her within a month. It would have been fine. We've been married 24 years. I think we
Oh,
engaged for less than a year. And it's like, yeah, we kind of, when it doesn't take that long, right?
Like Jeff said, it's easy, when it's right, it's easy, and you just know.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeff, how has you and Lynn's partnership actually helped you navigate some of your career highs? Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you've had a championship along the way. I know you got promoted and started doing a whole lot more administrative work, but there's been some
yeah.
highs. How has Lynn helped you reinforce those moments in your life?
Well, we've always just been very respectful of each other, and the thing that has always come easy is the separation. I respect everything that Lynn does, and I don't try to invade that space. Same with Lynn. She respects me as an educator and as a leader, but she doesn't try to come into my space either. It's been really easy to navigate because we can communicate with each other when we have either something successful that happened at work or a challenge at work. And we've always just been more of a sounding board than really trying to like rah the other person or solve the problem for them. So the way our relationship has always worked, it's just been really easy to communicate without having the expectation that the other one is trying to solve our problem for us or make the decision for us. There are numerous times at dinner in the past that one of us will bring up a challenge at work and we just listen and try to say, well, I've been in a similar, it's not with kids necessarily, but it's with my adults at work, and this worked. Or I say the same thing, this is how I approached a similar situation. And we just communicate very well in that manner of being very respectful that we aren't the expert in the other person's field.
So Lynn, I want you to give me your perspective on that too. And I'm going to tell you what I'm immediately thinking is I'm thinking how Shannon and I are so much not like that. Like we work in the same business with each other, and I know there are times, Jeff, where Shannon needs what you just said, and I have to be better, and I can't give that to her. And it's kind of blowing my mind here that you're essentially saying that Lynn can listen without giving input, and that you can. More blows my mind that you say you can do the same. Lynn, can he actually do that? I'm double checking here.
Well, I think that, there's input that's given, but it's not trying to tell the other person what to do as in terms of giving input.
Yeah.
It's more relating and, relating to the situation and saying, let me tell you about an experience that I've had and how I've handled it. It's not saying and trying to tell the other person, solve it. It's just relating and trying to give some experience that might be applicable to what they're dealing with. And so, I think with the whole thing, we're both very competitive people, but we're not competitive with each other when it comes to that. And that's sort of what makes it work too, because we can have that open communication and we're not trying to one up or show each other how much we know in one way or another by trying to solve it and saying, I've got all the answers for you.
That's good.
And that's one thing that we both are supremely confident in what we do, but we're also humble in knowing that we don't know it all. And we are willing to listen and learn from others at any point. And it really has worked pretty easy. And I do actually think that it's a benefit that we're not in the same industry. I think Lynn and I will agree, if we work together, it would be a bigger challenge. It really would. We support each other. It's more like, we support from the sideline. We don't have to be on the field together, running the plays together in my old coaching metaphors, but we support from the sideline, and it works. It really does.
That's good to know. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the life transitions that are happening right now, especially with the kids going to school. And Lynn, I know that you had two children from previous marriage. Jeff, I don't know about you. Did you have any kids coming into the relationship?
Nope. No.
So you had a chance to be a stepdad to a family that you wouldn't have had otherwise, which is pretty daggum cool. So
Yeah.
this wasn't necessarily in my list of questions, but I'm going to ask you, what was it like to get a chance to be a dad to these two great kids?
It's amazing, actually. You know, it's definitely the biggest challenge I've had in life, without a doubt. Not being there for some of those early stages of life is pretty difficult. Building the relationship with Tyler and Caitlin has been amazing. They are the two greatest kids that walk this planet, to be honest. Love them to death. We do everything together. We've always focused on family first. Even as soon as I came in, I mean, it's wonderful that Lynn kind of had really the same tradition that I grew up with, and that is we eat dinner together. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If we have to wait for one because they're at practice, we wait for one. If one is going to be late, we wait. If we need to eat early, we eat early. But all growing up, we have that tradition, and it's always just been really easy. The two kids are, like we said, they're amazing kids, and they have their own challenges, but they are, oh my God, special kids. So it's
Todd,
been
he's
really
always
easy.
treated the kids like his own from the very, very beginning. And so I think that's been very helpful. It's never been a step, but it's always, he's somebody that stepped in, and the kids have accepted him. And with that, they think of him as their dad too, and their father figure. If they refer to him to friends, it's their dad, and they have a dad, but it's their dad also. It's just easy reference because of the way that they treat each other.
Well, Lynn, you're so very driven that I can't imagine that you would be any less successful if Jeff didn't come into your life. But I don't know that. I mean, 15 years is a long time. And I just think about what Shannon allows us to do as a family because of her dedication and her commitment to functions that I can't attain, right? There's certain things that Shannon does in our household that I can't do. And there's certain things that I do that she can't do. And maybe we could if we had to, but because we're together, we're better by far. And I gotta just ask the question, do you think that Jeff stepping into the family, becoming the father figure, doing functions or adding value, however way you want to look at that, I guess what I'm really asking is, do you think that you could have been the president that you are today if he wasn't with you?
I think the best way to kind of, and I've said this to him, and I know my sister uses it with her husband. I don't need you. I want you, right? So I don't necessarily need Jeff, but it sure would have been a whole lot more challenging. I want him there, and he's the biggest supporter, and he has just what he offers in the terms of support. And I don't just mean like verbal support and that encouragement. With his career and my career, they're very different. And Jeff has opened up time. He understands he has the gift of time. And where my time is more structured and definitely work longer hours, his are a little less. And so he knows that if he uses the time that he has to open up time for me, then we have more time to spend together. So could I have done all the things without Jeff? Honestly, probably not. But would I have figured out somebody else to supported me? Probably. And so, but I love that he's there to help along the way. He's there to make a partnership, to be there to, give us the time that, when I am home, when I have the weekends, he's, dinner's ready when I come home. I'm very blessed and grateful for that. So that we're not spending all this time, doing that, because he's getting it done before I get there. And then we have the downtime, the time that I am there, to spend together as a family. So he's, integral to being able to do all the things that I've been able to do.
Lynn, I also cook. I'm the cook in the house.
True blessing for all the women out there that have husbands that cook.
Well, I enjoy it, and Shannon and the kids enjoy it too. But I look up sometimes at the things that Shannon does, especially if there's a period of time where we're not together. And I'm like, man, it's like magic having that other person in your life. And it's good to reflect on that. Jeff, I'm also going to say that this comment was made to me, Jeff, by Chris Elmore, because Chris doesn't get to speak to Lynn as much as I do, and I've just grown to like you. So I'll send you text messages. We share common things. But Elmore said Lynn is the most professional person I think I've ever spoken to in my life, and even right down to your answer when you said I won't, don't need. That's like core fundamental principle number one that I try to teach every service or salesperson. Want the work, don't need it, because there's a deep psychological principle there, which leads me to go, my gosh, the two of your relationships just seem so mature. It's like, it's a very mature approach to this relationship. I think it's very different than what I didn't know what to expect, but it's just hit me with a new set of insights. So, Jeff, was she like that 15 years ago, or have you guys grown into this maturity?
I think there's a little bit of both, to be honest. She's matured into this maturity, but the thing, Todd, is we say this literally all the time. We just fit. We can really have a conversation without saying words. Whether it's we're mad at each other or we're happy with each other, we can communicate in any way, and we do. And I think that's the biggest maturity that I can tell you about, is our communication with each other is very open, it's very honest, and it's a lot. We probably text 100 times a day about tiny things of it can be as little as hope you have a great morning to I'm running to Walmart. Do you need anything? Really, we really just have a close connection that I think, maturity is probably a good word for it. It is a mature relationship, but it is also so easy and so incredibly fun.
That's awesome. Lynn, what's the biggest change now that you both took your daughter to, is it nursing school? She's at nursing school now?
We're actually headed out on this weekend, but yes, she's been going to school.
Holy smokes. So this weekend, so you're not actually empty nesters yet. You're like days away from being empty nesters.
It's like off and on empty nest when you have kids in college, because they come back in the summer sometimes. So she's been home for summer. And we leave again to take her back to school, and so we'll be empty nesters again.
What was the biggest change on the first week or month of empty nesting? Not now, you're used to it, but what was the biggest shock to the system when the kids were gone?
Just you're used to having this person in the home, and my daughter and I are very close, so. My son moved out after she did, actually, even though he's older. But you're just used to having these people there, right? These people that are part of your everyday life for so long. And so, I was, of course, sad, and it took some adjustment. But again, Jeff and I, we ate dinner as a family before the kids left. We eat as a family, just even though the family's smaller now, the two of us. So none of those routines changed, and we've always been close, the two of us, and friends. And so we're not rediscovering each other because we never lost each other through the whole, raising of kids. And, but so we enjoy every minute. We look forward to doing things together when I get home from work, and a lot of that's not changed. Maybe the activities that we're doing have changed, but most of it stayed the same, and, just adapting a little bit to not going to sporting events, the same sporting events, right, that we used to go to, chasing kids to all their activities.
I want to throw something out to both of you, and I'll give you some perspective. Like, Shannon and I feel really blessed with our kids too. Everett's 11, Willa's 14, Willa will be 15 in January. And these two guys I know people say don't make your kids your best friend, and they're not. Shannon is my best friend. That's a period. That they're my children. But with that being said, we enjoy the heck out of each other's company. If there's an opportunity for Everett to choose going out and hanging with his friends or going with us and doing something, it's 100% of the time mom and dad. There isn't even a question of it. And with Willa, I would say it's 90%. Like, her friends have to be doing something really cool for her to choose them over us. And we love that. Like, my daughter doesn't get that weird, like, teenage girl things that teenage girls get where they're obsessing about what their friends are doing. She's like, no, let's go do something fun. Dad, take me to a play. Let's go watch a movie. Let's go to a concert. And I'm just curious if your kids were like that with you two as they were growing up.
I think to some degree, I agree with the statement. Jeff and I are the best friends, but we enjoy our kids enjoy us. And what I love is that while the kids were involved with friends, but we were the house that they came to. So we were the house that hosted the parties. We were the house that the kids would come over to and hang out at. And so for us, we got to, and it wasn't like they had to go hide out, right? When they came to our house, it was just, big, open, and we were part of the activities. Or maybe they'd go watch a movie, and we would hang out on the back patio and watch them play spike ball, whatever that might be. And so we kind of just make it all work together. It was, they liked their friends. Of course, they need and want their own friend time, but they enjoyed spending time with us as well. And it was never like family forced time, like some people have to make it. And they do change a little bit though, Todd. Yours are still a little young. They will change as they get a little older, and those keys, they can drive those cars. It does change a little bit, but they, if you do all the right things, they circle back around too. And, they continue to want to spend time with you, which is nice.
That's what everyone keeps telling me. And I'm going, yeah, I know it'll happen, but I'm glad it hasn't happened yet.
I think it's natural progression and should happen a little bit too.
Yeah, and Todd, I would say it's actually, I always felt really good about it when the kids, wasn't like a choice. I don't know, there's not necessarily choice, us or them, but I really, really liked when the kids started to just go out and explore the life on their own and come back and tell us about it. Or, Lynn and I go out and do something on our own and come back and we talk about it as a family, and just, we get to share in it still, but it really is, I will say, I thoroughly enjoy when the kids got to go out on their own and they both got their driver's license, and they would go over to friends' houses or go out and do things, but always coming back. They always come home.
That's neat. Well, you guys are going through some career changes, and I'd like to talk about that as well as the new adventures that you have in your life. Now, here's another quote, Lynn. I was going back listening to our last podcast, and you said so many things that I'm like, wow, this is still relevant. It's really important to be able to trust each other and our roles and our abilities, and that's what makes the changes we go through work. So let's talk about those changes. Jeff, you're retired from education for 25 years and stepping into entrepreneurship. And Lynn, we've already heard some of yours from going from human resources and marketing. Now you're president leading a multi-million and fastly growing company in Denver. And the big one here is competitive bodybuilding, and the bigger one is modeling. That's a lot of change. So let's talk about those shifts. And I want to start with you, Jeff, if you don't mind. What was it that inspired you to leave education and go, you know what, I'm going to own a gym?
It's a great question, and it's such an amazing story, to be honest. I actually really did not even know that I was 25 years into education after last school year. I had no idea this was happening. I didn't know I was in my 25th year. Retirement had become a conversation between Lynn and I, and thinking about what's next. I knew I didn't want to do this till I was 65 years old. Just wasn't filling my void the way it used to. The passion was every year just diminishing a little bit.
Is that because of the change in kids? Because that's what
No, not a no, no. And I actually do get a little defensive on that. Kids are kids. Always have been, always will be. And then someone will say, well, that must be the parents.
being
It's not the
defensive. Tell me
parents.
what you're thinking. I want to hear
Um,
this. I want to hear an opposing side because I also am one of those people that think humans are humans.
you're right. Times change and people do change, but kids are kids. They want structure, they want relationships, they want to feel heard, they want to feel needed. That doesn't change.
So it wasn't the
Um,
kids. It was literally just something that you were ready for a change in your life.
it was a new challenge. When I went into school administration, it was for the next challenge. I spent about 15 of my 21 years in the classroom, but also in teacher leadership. And then I took that next step into school administration in really trying to take, instead of being able to influence those 30 kids for 5 or 6 class periods a day. Now, if I go to administration, I can impact every single one of the teachers who then impacts those students. So it was just the next challenge for me. And that challenge it really wasn't there anymore. And I knew I didn't want to do it forever. And I knew, to be honest, uh, I didn't want to put in the time that it required anymore. Um, my dream 5 years ago was to be a school athletic director, a high school athletic director, and I've had the opportunity, but it's just not right. It's not right for our partnership, for our life. If I do that, I would go to working more hours than Lynn is even working. I leave at 7 o'clock in the morning at the latest, and I wouldn't be home until 9 o'clock at night. And that's not our life. It's not the life I want. We had I think maybe a 2-minute conversation about this a couple of years ago when an opportunity came up, and Lynn said, "Do what you want to do. What's going to make you happy?" And I'm like, I can't. I would miss Caitlin's games. I would miss dinner with my wife, to watch other kids play sports. So the challenge just wasn't there, and the passion from me wasn't there. So I will not just go through the motions to go through the motions. So we started having a conversation about what's next. And Lynn's gonna laugh. My original retirement plan was I was gonna buy a bar, and I I don't know why. I really don't know why. And I bless my wife, because she is such an amazing human being, that she did not say no. She listened. I even went through a process of looking into an actual bar, and she listened and didn't say no. And then she allowed me to make that decision on my own, and it was a really easy no. And then one day last October, I was leaving the gym, spoke to Lynn, and said that morning at the gym was really not fun because it was so busy, it was packed. I couldn't get on any equipment. Lynn asked why. I said, well, I heard the gym down the street has had some struggles, so people are coming up to this one. And she, I think, jokingly said, well, maybe you should take over the gym and straighten it out. And I went, hmm. And then I think Lynn said, maybe you should buy a gym. And I was driving to work. I got to work that morning. I actually first talked to my commercial real estate guy and said, hey, new plan, bar is out, I'm going to buy a gym. And he said, have you thought about a franchise? And I said, this plan is 30 seconds old. So now I've thought about a franchise. I went to work, looked it up, And last October, it's just flown very easily since then. We went and looked at a gym, and the guy's a wonderful human being, and he happened to say, by the way, I'm selling this gym, and we're buying it.
I want to talk about that in a moment because I think it's very interesting. So let's put a pin in that because I do want to come back to that. Um, but I want to transition over here to Lynn for just a moment, and I'm so tempted to follow this thread, but there's some things that I want to get out from her that I think are going to be of value as well. So, Lynn, I don't want to rehash everything that we did in the last episode, but maybe this is the listener tuning in for the first time, so they don't know all the things about your background. But at one point, you went from human resources, doing marketing, and for the listener, even sweeping floors when you were a teenager at the company. But you're the president today, and here's the question that I have for you: what was the biggest challenge from going from human resources to president? Like the biggest obstacle that you personally had to overcome at that time?
Honestly, it was the mental challenge of not wanting to fail. It was fairly easy otherwise and smooth because, I had the best mentor. I was mentored under my dad for a very long time. And I had that opportunity to hold so many different positions within the company. I had a team that trusted me. But for me, I didn't want to destroy something that my dad had spent so many years building. So I had some, anxious moments about what was I doing and how was I going to handle this. And so for me, it was just that mental challenge and that of overcoming and being afraid to fail.
Was that the same challenge for you when you said, okay, I'm going to step onto the stage in competitive bodybuilding?
There's always a fear of failure, right? And so with whatever you do, I never questioned whether I would be able to step on stage, right? I knew I wasn't going to fail at completing my prep. I knew I was going to work through the 40 weeks or whatever that I did for preparing to get up there. But I wanted to do well. I wanted to do well, and I want to do well with whatever I do. And so that's, I think, where the two of them kind of tie together is I wanted to do well running the business, and I wanted to do well stepping on stage, and, I want to be the best at anything that I do. And so it's just putting forth that effort, and, and I think the two tie together very well in that way.
So I'm going to ask you one more question about that. All three of us share a deep passion in fitness. And I think we've all had unique and personal journeys with fitness that we could talk about. I have never done the bodybuilding thing to where I step on stage, but I'm such an admirer of all the people that have that I know a couple things about it. One of the things that I know is that it's torturous. It's deep discipline, and it's torturous. And the other thing I know about it is that that's probably your least healthiest that you've ever been through the process is the day you're on stage. At least that's what they say. It's like, that's the day you're most dehydrated. It's the day you're most in danger. It's the day you're most uncomfortable. You're not actually your strongest, fittest self. You just look good. So here's the question that I have. Why do you do it? Is it just about being able to say, it's like I ran the 100-mile marathon. I did it. I just did something incredibly difficult that few will do, and that's it? Is it, I want to look a certain way and prove that I can? I'm just curious what your driving force is behind it. And by the way, no judgment, because I've been the same knucklehead that was 30 pounds overweight because I wanted to squat as much as I could. And I knew only fat boys are the strongest versions of themselves. So I've done things that aren't healthy for me either, just to be as strong as I can. So I'm not judging. I'm just curious what your reason was.
For me, the bodybuilding, I admire the physique. I admire the human body and the way that it looks. And so, yes, there's a certain, just like, can I do that? Can I look like that? There's a certain portion of that. It keeps me disciplined and on track, gives me a goal and a deadline for something to work towards. But it's more than that too. I think just, I think that's what attracts me to it. But one of my favorite words is the word discipline. And I like structure. And with bodybuilding, there's a lot of structure. You have to check the boxes. I like a checklist. And so you're just checking the boxes every single day. You do what you need to do. You get up, you have the structure, you have the routine. And there's something super satisfying in that whole process to me. And being able to have the rough days. I had somebody here at work that says, gosh, you're going to do it again. You seemed miserable. Well, there were days. Yeah, it was hard. But I was never miserable. And, because there's something to be said about having a challenge and having those rough days and having the days when you're, just dragging, not thinking I'm not, again, I never thought that I wouldn't finish or that I couldn't do it. But those days that are super hard, and then having the next day that is, you feel amazing and you're like, look what I did. I got past that. I went through that struggle, and I'm mentally and physically stronger because of it. And showing my kids and other people what they can do and what limits you can push yourself towards, and overcoming that, we can always do more than what we think that we can. And just, going through that is just a real huge sense of accomplishment for me.
Have either of you ever read the amazing book by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've read that one.
You'll love it when you read it. He essentially talks about how people have a cue and then a routine and then a reward. And I've heard Charles speak about this to Peter Attia, who's also known just for being super disciplined. And he asked, do you make lists? And Peter started laughing. He said, yeah, I make a list on Friday of the things I'm going to do on Saturday and Sunday. And on Sunday, I make a list of all the things I'm going to do on Monday. And then I started laughing because I do that too. It's like I do exactly those things. And he was saying that for a lot of people, the reward isn't food, it isn't money, it isn't anything other than I said I was going to do it and I did it. Check. Right. And it sounds like you fall into that same line. So now I'm going to come back to the gym. I'm going to bring you guys both in here. And I'm going to be totally transparent and candid because it's the best conversation. When you said Jeff is buying a gym, I thought to myself, well, of course he is. I mean, look at him. He's a stud. If you follow him on Facebook, you see that. I mean, you're in great shape. But then when you said it was an Anytime Fitness, I went to myself, why an Anytime Fitness? I would figure Jeff would buy a gym where he could go in and coach and like lead people to greatness. And I'm not saying it can't be done at Anytime Fitness. I'm saying Anytime Fitness systems don't fit that sort of mold. It's not what you picture. You don't picture Lynn and Jeff's working out at Anytime Fitness. So I'm asking with total sincerity, why that model when it doesn't, to me, feel like it fits the mold?
Structure, Todd.
Is it just purely for the franchise portion of it?
Absolutely. There's structure. They're proven to be successful. And when you follow successful people, then, success comes more naturally and you learn from the best. And so being able to, kind of step into a gym that's already been operating for a couple of years, it's already profitable, already successful, Jeff can continue to learn from the people that have done well with it. And honestly, with my flexibility, my job, you guys won't have to be there every single day because they have the systems, the processes, the people in place to be able to run it. And then he can, still have the flexibility to match my schedule so that we can continue to do the things that we enjoy together.
Lynn, that's a great answer. It was one that I expected. I believe it because it makes total sense. So
I can actually add to that. And it's going to be a little bit of a commercial for Anytime Fitness, but when I started the research literally that morning when I got to work, I put in the Google search, #1 franchise in fitness, Anytime Fitness came up. And so I went to their website, and the thing that I really appreciate about them is, and this really fits into my philosophy and even more so Lynn's philosophy of fitness, is overall wellness. It is not a gym that they don't want the person to just walk in and work out. They want a coach. Everyone who walks through that door gets a coach. And it's not just a strength coach. It's not just a trainer. They want to work on lifestyle changes. They want to figure out, what is your goal? Why are you in here? Do you want to lose weight, gain weight, be a bodybuilder? Do you just want to be able to tie your shoes at the end of the day or the beginning of the day? And they really do emphasize overall wellness. They mix in nutrition, they mix in vitamins and supplements, and just trying to help a person be the best physical, mental, emotional person that they can be. And that really struck me when I saw their website. And then I had some online training that I went through as a future owner, and it's emphasized. So I really like that.
It- that's an answer that I didn't expect at all. I've been to a few anytimes in the Southeast, and very often they're unmanned centers, and I find myself going, I wonder how much of that depends upon the system oriented person like Lynn and Jeff
Yeah,
running the location.
it is. And the interesting thing about that, going through this process, and the the guy that we're buying the gym from has actually become a friend of mine. So we talk quite a bit, and he has kind of guided me in his experience. And there are really two models for running an Anytime Fitness: getting as many people in the door as possible, just getting green members, or trying to sell as much personal training as possible. The gym that you're referencing, they just want as many people through the door. It's not as personal, and I have the opportunity to make it as personal as I can. The one we're getting in there already has 4 full-time trainers, and a manager who are all busy, still trying to fill their days completely, but they're busy in a small town with personal training, and we'll bring that emphasis also. I think there is a little bit of the emphasis on overall wellness, but that will eventually, Lynn and I will bring that really to the forefront of everyone who walks through that door is going to get everything from us.
That's really good to hear, um, because you answered one of the questions that I had to myself. In fact, it's a question that I bounced off to Shannon, and it was more like a statement, which was, I really thought that Jeff's approach would be he'd want to be coaching people. And you just said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I suppose out of ignorance, I didn't realize that was a thing that was done at those, because I've only been exposed to
Right.
the first model, which is how many key cards can we get and not man the desk if we don't have to. And you're saying, no, we're actually
Yeah.
going to participate in the program. So, okay, last
Yeah.
question about the Anytime Fitness. Will yours have regular squat racks or only hack squats?
We do have a full rack, and Daniel, the current owner, actually is pretty bummed. He does want another one, and there is space that will have a full rack. So it's in there. One other thing that I've fallen in love with is the hip squat, basically the belt squats.
Belt squats. Well, listen,
Yeah,
like Jerry Maguire, you had me at full rack.
we do have a full rack. Yep.
All right, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I have no idea if said listener is interested. If they lift weights, they definitely are. So, but that was for me, and I'm totally okay with that. Let's talk a little bit about partnership dynamics. And Jeff, I'm going to ask the question that may seem like the weird question in the room, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is it like being married to someone that is so successful running a $25 million business? Does it intimidate you at all? Or, I mean, if you're watching the YouTube, you can see he's a man, right? He is a man. He's a big man, but still, does it intimidate you at all, Jeff, to be married to someone that's so successful in the field?
It really does not. And you did hit the nail on the head there. I don't intimidate easy. I am actually just proudful. I'm not gonna lie about this. I probably dote on my wife more than anybody I know. I am ridiculously proud of her. I'm not jealous of anything she does. I'm not. Um, I literally am just absolutely 100% proud of her from the day we met. I was, like I said, it's been easy. It's not been a competition. And I do think that there probably still is some of that we're not in the same industry. If I may have had that business mentality that she had at the time, maybe, but my life is education. Her life is business, and she does it really, really well. My life is education, and I do it really, really well. Even though I'm retired, I still do it really well. And I can't be more proud of a human being on this planet than I am of my wife. I love what she does. I love the passion that she has for what she does. I love going into the office and seeing the other people there and how they treat her and how she treats them. And, when we just went to the company picnic, and just the way that I hate to even call them employees, how the people that work with her treat her at work it's special. She's built something really special there, and there's nothing to be jealous about. There's nothing to be angry about. There's nothing to be intimidated by. Um, she's just really good at what she does, and I'm proud of that.
Li- Lynn, I want to go to you. I think the base of my question, I would be the same as Jeff. If Shannon was leading an organization I wasn't involved in and it was hugely successful, it wouldn't bother me. That's not where my confidence comes from either. I think it's fair to say that a huge majority of men would have an issue with that they either would not admit or would admit, or they'd be jealous. I don't think that would fly with you. But do you think that my question or my statement is off base, that there probably are a large number of men that would struggle with the idea of their wife being so not I want to say so much more successful. That's a misstatement, Jeff. What I mean by that is that some men are really intimidated by successful women, especially if the woman makes more money than them. That freaks them out. So Lynn, I want to get your thought on that, and you tell me, have you ever had to deal with that? Not from Jeff, but from other people. Do you see what I'm saying? Can you relate to what I'm putting out
I
here?
feel what you're saying, Todd. It was my first marriage, and so it was this that created a lot of issues in my first marriage, and that insecurity. And what I've learned, I've had a hard time with the word, and I hope somebody else can relate to that. People have called me intimidating, and I've learned that I'm not intimidated; they're intimidated. I'm not intimidating, they're intimidated. And there's a difference. And one has to do with how I treat people, and the other has to do with how they their own personal beliefs and their own personal way of seeing things. It's not because of me, it's because of their own insecurities. And so that's something that I've had to work through. And, it's not, I shouldn't take that personal, but it was the root of my first marriage and some of the challenges that we had.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that firsthand, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, that something that's kind of interesting along those lines. A lot of the success and growth has come while we've been together for both of our careers. And something that's really kind of funny in it, when Lynn and I first started getting together 15 years ago, the funny used to be we could not go out and not run into somebody I knew, whether it was a colleague or a former student or a former student's parents or a current student. Everywhere the kids were like, they thought I was a celebrity, because everywhere we went, we ran into someone that I knew. Fast forward to today, and now we go out and it's Lynn that's recognized. And it's kind of funny. It's fun that people know who she is, and I'm not jealous at all. I think it's really funny. I think it's fun, not funny, fun.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, every family and every couple has unique ways that they like to celebrate personal wins. Doesn't have to be big. It could be big, it could be small, but everyone has things that they do, right? Uh, if I'm going to celebrate something really awesome for Shannon, I'm going to take her for a day to the beach. If we're going to do something that is sort of not that big of a thing, but we want to do something that's sort of fun, we go to downtown Austin, we go eat at an Indian restaurant that everybody loves. So everyone has the ways that we like to celebrate each other. So Lynn, my question is actually this: what is your favorite way that Jeff celebrates you? And maybe he doesn't even know it, but there is a way that he celebrates you that is your favorite. And what is it?
Well, I just have to say, Todd, just as a characteristic of a high achiever is that we don't generally take time to celebrate wins. And I don't know if everybody's like that, but I have a hard time stopping. I'm generally what's next. So I appreciate that Jeff does stop and try to celebrate me because I don't take the time to do that necessarily for myself. And because he has the time, I can't tell you how many times I come home and dinner is on the dining room table and there's a candle lit and a glass of wine and music playing and the lights are dim. And it's just the two of us having dinner and celebrating, our day. And it doesn't even have to be a big celebration. And it may even be just to support me because he knows I've had a rough day. And I think my favorite tradition that we do every single day is that we clink glasses at dinner and we say cheers and we do cheers to life. And so not only do we celebrate, he makes dinner and does something nice for me in that way, but also just making sure that we're really intentional with pausing before dinner and having that, cheers to life and cheers, because there's always something to celebrate every single day. And the fact that we're together, that's a celebration that we take time to recognize every night.
That's wonderful. And it is often, and most often, the little things that are consistently done that mean the most.
Absolutely.
Jeff, you may have the same answer, but just in case, I'm going to go to you. What are the things that Lynn does that celebrates you that you love the most?
I think it's always having time. And the one thing that Lynn is really, really, really gotten really good about is enjoying the moment we're in, slowing down when we are in a moment and celebrating and making sure that we do things. She's really emphasized in our life of, yeah, we're going to Glenwood Springs next week. We're going to spend the weekend together, or just taking a quick vacation, or this Saturday we're going for a hike. She's just very good at making sure that we're together and that we're doing things together to challenge each other and oftentimes get out of one of us or both of our comfort zones.
That's really cool. We're going to have one more little section here where we talk about fitness, but I'm going to put a slightly different spin on it. And I want to preface this for our listener. One of the things that you will find as you are searching on your own personal quest for well-being and improvement is a commonality that constantly comes up. Scientists study it, researchers study it, psychologists study it, medical doctors study it. And whether a person is trying to improve themselves at work, or whether they are trying to improve themselves at home, whether they're trying to stop some negative addictive habit, or just trying to increase their overall mental and physical well-being, there is a staple that universally 100% time we come back to, which is that exercise is the most powerful and potent medicine that we have for those things. Even in business, we are better at business when we are fit and we are intentional. So I feel like this is actually a very relevant part of the $100 million mindset. And the two of you do it very well. Now, I've only made observations, right? I've been stalking you guys on Facebook, and it appears to me that you both do fitness differently. And I want to unpack what I think are some of the differences. And you can tell me, no, Todd, you're wrong. Those are not our differences. Lynn, you can wake up at 3:45 or earlier. It doesn't appear that you need much sleep. Jeff, do you do the same? Are you a no sleep person as well? Are you a 3:45 a.m. in the morning guy as well?
So no, but I'm not far off of that, to be honest. I do my workouts first thing in the morning. When I was still working at the middle school, I'm out the door by 5:15, so that I got my workout in and got to work. Now that I don't have that responsibility to be there. I delay it a little bit, but I'm up 5:30 most every morning.
What's your target
And
numbers for sleep?
I that's a different kind of question. And it is another thing that we share, and it's one of our biggest bonds. Lynn and I go to bed together every night. There's not, I'm going to stay up and watch TV, or I'm going to stay up and watch the baseball game, or Lynn is going to work. We go to bed together. We brush our teeth at the same time. We get in bed together. Now in bed, we might be doing separate things. I might be watching the baseball game actually on my phone, and Lynn is scrolling or whatever. But not generally, Lynn falls asleep a little bit before I do. So I'm usually up a little bit later, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes after she falls asleep. But I'm up a little bit later, and I sleep a little bit later than Lynn does.
Got it. So you guys are close, but different there. Lynn, what is your workout? Well, I'll ask it a different way. Do you guys work out together? It doesn't appear that you do.
We actually do, Todd. So we didn't for a while during COVID. I took my workouts home, and we worked out together when we first got together. We enjoyed our workouts, but we'd sometimes separate and do our own thing. COVID brought my workouts home. I never went back to the gym until this last year, actually. And with competing for my bodybuilding, I do my own workouts. We'll do our own things, but as I've increased the weights that I've lifted and lifting heavier, I need the spot. I need the mental support. Honestly, there's days, I'm pushing myself really hard, but I can't push myself as hard as I need to lift as heavy as I need to if I don't have the support, a spotter. And so we work out together this morning. We did a back workout together, and so there's days I work out on my own. There's days I work out at home. I like that alone time, but also we really enjoy the workouts. Getting reconnecting with our workouts from where we were years ago.
That's really smart. Yeah. Lynn, from your perspective, what is the greatest benefit to being physically fit? What is the greatest benefit in business that being physically fit gives you?
I think when you're physically fit, you're mentally fit, right? So it just helps with mental clarity. You're just in a good headspace. So starting my day with a good workout in the morning clears my space. It allows me to start my day and build the confidence that I need to feel good and, both mentally and physically. And so puts my head space in the right place before I come to work. And, I think that's super important. And when you can be healthy physically and mentally at home, you're going to perform better at work, and you're going to be able to show up for my team. I'm going to be able to show up for my clients. I'm going to be able to show up in general in a better way than, rolling out of bed and trying to get here within 30 minutes of barely having my eyeballs open. And I just don't think you perform the best. So I'm up for 3 to 4 hours before I step foot into my office, and I have great mental clarity, and I've got energy to do what I need to do.
I love that. This is a question for either of you. Going into that mental clarity thing that you just mentioned, I find that if I do my workout in the morning, then I have greater energy for a longer sustained period of time. It's much easier for me to go past 6 if I've worked out early than it actually is to not work out early and then make it to 6 and have energy to work out. It's weird. It's energy begets energy, right? Do you have the same experience, or do you find that your workouts take a little bit of your energy from you? And I know it's different for everybody. For me, it adds energy in my day, but what about for you? And either of you can answer, or both of you can answer.
Well, I'll answer them both. Two things. One, now it adds energy. When I was prepping for my bodybuilding competition, I was so depleted and I was tired. But it depends on how much, and if I'm up at 3:45, truth be told, I'm getting tired by the time I come home, but dinner re-energizes me and gets some fuel back in me, going for maybe an evening walk, that gives me some additional energy as well. But working out first thing in the morning, it gives me the energy, throughout the day. I'm not yawning at 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm not dragging and looking at the clock and wondering when my day is going to be over. The energy does generally sustain me as long as I'm fueling my body with food throughout the day. That's really part of the equation too.
I actually have experienced both ways. because of my life in education. Oftentimes high school starts really early. So I've had in the past days, jobs where if I start really early in the morning, I don't have time to get a good workout in. I've also, my first 21 years of education, I was very fortunate that I had access to the high school gym all of those 21 years. And two of the gyms I actually designed. So it was my gym that I got to hang out in with kids sometimes. Sometimes it was just me in there, but I was very fortunate. So I've started my day with a workout and I've ended my day with a workout. And it is very different. I cannot go back to not getting my workout first thing in the morning. I could not go back to a different way. But at the high school, a couple of the jobs, it just worked out that way. I would be done with school at 2:45. I'd be in the gym at 3. I'd be in the gym till 5 or 5:30, come home when we would eat dinner. And I had some really good workouts that way too, but I really do like starting my day. I think it is a wonderful day to get the metabolism kicked into gear. I think it's a great mental clarity. Especially I love the way that Lynn does it with doing her mental clarity stuff and then the exercise, where I kind of oftentimes my workout is that clarity.
I love it. I've got just one question and then we'll be done. This is what I'm curious about. I'm curious about the future. And I want you each to go at least 5 years into the future, at least 5. And when we talk again in 5 years, what will you look back on and say, this is the thing that I'm most proud that I've accomplished since we spoke last, Todd? 5 years from now, it's this. Lynn, you go first.
It's the impact that I have on other people, Todd. I want to have a profound impact on other people and impact as many people as I can. I want to leave them in a better place. And, I want to inspire people and, hear the stories, or not but hear the people that came back and said that what I did mattered and, affected their life and inspired them to do something with theirs. And so that for me is success. And that's all that I want.
Wonderful. Jeff?
To be honest, my 5 years, I really just want to be a better person. I love my life every day. I am a day-to-day guy. I bless every morning that I wake up. I bless every night that I get to lay down next to the most perfect human being on this planet. And my 5-year plan is literally just to be a little bit better. I want to be a better husband in 5 years. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better dad. I don't think I'm ready. 5 years. I don't think I'm ready to be a better grandfather yet, or a grandfather at all. That one keeps getting me, and I know that 5 years that might be, but I really just want to be. I want to be better businessman, more successful, a better traveler. To be honest, just want to be a little bit better at who I am.
I love it. Okay, there's one last question, and what I want you guys to do is either point to yourself or point to the other person. Last question, I promise. We're gonna do like one of those social media things where you do like this. Who is the more stressed of the two of you?
Oh.
Okay, I thought so too. Just wanted to make sure.
I don't do stress.
Every listener on here is thinking a couple things. They're thinking, man, that Lynn is a dynamo, and they're also thinking, dadgum, I wish I could be as cool as Jeff. Right there, but I think
stress.
Yeah, we can tell. It's good. I wish I was more like you. I do stress like Lynn does stress. I put it on myself. All right. Thank you both so much, Lynn and Jeff, sharing your story, showing us what success looks like and how it's not just about the size of a company or the title on the door, but it's about building a life together that you won't.
It is.
Right? You won't. It's about raising kids. It's about starting new businesses. It's about this partnership that the two of you have proven that you can support each other through and share this vision that you can make it through any transition. And I think it's tremendous. So thank you both so much for taking time to be here today.
Thank you, Todd, for having us. And,
Thanks, Todd. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. It's been great.
Hey, thanks so much for watching the show this week. Head over to toddliles.com/mindset to get the show notes. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a new episode of the show. And if you enjoyed this episode, then share it. It really helps us get the word out. You've been watching the $100 Million Mindset with Alan O'Neill and tight-lipped Todd Liles.